doing my best to make you part of us is the rest.
Hey, welcome back to Versus the Rest. Today, I'm going to react to a video from Jimmy Dore. He's going to talk about U.S. military is already controlling the weather. Well, finally, he's catching up. Now being a full-blown conspiracy theorist. They'll call it geoengineering. They've been doing it for years. I think they're blaming climate change on it. Maybe you were too young to remember, or you were just too young at all. But like trails in the sky from the planes used to be entirely non-existent or very, very rare. And now like persistent contrails is now a new word in the dictionary since about the end of the 90s. I don't know when he's going to talk about this information. So let's dive into the video right away.
From Hawaii. I got back from Maui, and there was always a lot of talk or conspiracy on what really caused the fire. Now I made
he went to Hawaii.
That's not important, right? What's important right now is that we help.
I will definitely be watching more videos. He said he was going to Hawaii directly to speak to the people over there.
The people of Lahaina stay there so they can stay in their land.
Got some wisdom
because
now.
It obviously feels, due to the lack of transparency and withholding the truth, that they don't want those people there. I've said this is an orchestrated kind of gentrification.
Makes sense.
It seems like all the real estate investors, all the people with money, the ruling class, they want that land. There's been talk of 15-minute cities and whatnot. So therefore, they're very suspicious about what's going on. The people of Lahaina, they're also very suspicious because the people of Ukraine get billions of dollars while they get nothing. However, I think it's also okay for the people who are investigating every single avenue of what could happen for them to investigate it. Because what used to be a conspiracy theory 20 years ago, 10 years ago, is conspiracy truth today. And there's been a lot of talk about
people that accept reality.
I want to pull something up that was aired 9 years ago. Remember all that talk about lasers and laser weapons and whatnot? Is it possible? There's been a lot of talk about
obviously it is
used in Iran to go after a certain scientist. Do they use these things? And they call you crazy. You're crazy if you think there's any use of lasers, within our military against people. This was aired 9 years ago today. Take a look at this.
Lasers? Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky.
Sounds safe.
Actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts.
Go ahead. Sounds good.
This fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War to wash out the Viet Cong.
Yes.
Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to.
I just want to point that out right there. That's one of the most important things, because people go, well, who's doing this geoengineering of sorts, this cloud seeding or this weather modification? And we've said for quite some time, the people who are into this sort of...
It's definitely the army, because they are the ones that have access to the air. They have like control over everything that's the air, like above commercial airlines. So it's obviously the army.
That it's always been the crown jewel of the military-industrial complex to use it.
Definitely.
I don't have to go drop bombs or attack a country if I can control the weather and give them a drought and starve them out. Or I can rain them out. And this is the situation where this doctor, the scientist, is telling you that the CIA once used it. So people who are considered craziness for talking about chemtrails, right? Which we don't like to use that term. We like to use the term geoengineering because chemtrails could be used as like a anti-propagandist kind of tool.
Well, it's because chemtrails are like much harder to identify. Like pretty much anybody could be wrong on them because contrails do exist. But I think that like contrails that last a long time and spray and seem to like become clouds, I don't know. I think it's something I didn't see before. And when I was young, like not at all, not before like the mid 90s about.
We like to use the word geoengineering, but he's telling you The CIA has used it for years. There's documentation there showing that the military has tried to use geoengineering or weather modification.
It's true. I've seen a lot of
their enemies. In fact, I even pointed out one time the Iranian president, Ahmadinejad, accused Israel of using it along with the West to cause droughts in part of Iran to starve people out to try to turn them against their government. Because if you can starve them out and make them hungry, then they're easier to sway. Definitely. So that's what this is about right here. So that was the most important thing he was talking about right there. And all those people that they bastardized, people like Mark Dice, it looks like it wasn't a conspiracy theorist. It was a conspiracy truth. We used to say the difference between conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months. Now it's like 6 days when you have Victoria Nuland talking about those biolabs in the Ukraine. I'm going to play the rest of this because it gets interesting.
Right. Yeah. Now,
it's like a reactor.
For decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in
I've seen conclusive
rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam. Firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions. And these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
And a lot of talk now has been about they're doing it because now that we are heating the planet too much, if we can control the weather or the clouds or make it rain, we can cool the planet easily. So now they're kind of using it a little bit against our hearts and, trying to see sympathetic.
It seems that, they might have the capacity to change weather or at least influence it. It seems that they never use it for positive measures. Is it me or I don't know. It's like, there's a fire in Hawaii. They don't do shit. Fires in Australia. They don't. Well, maybe it's just hard to have rain in Australia, in any ways possible. But I don't know. I think that they could do this is going to be a really bad season for this. It's why aren't you doing geoengineering? I'm sure I think that playing with, it's kind of like playing God, but if you can, I don't know, temporarily make it not rain for a while or make it rain specifically over water I think there are ways to make it, but the earth is supposed to regulate itself. But we're always fighting what's natural. It's that's what humans do, I think, but there needs to be a limit. And I don't know if geoengineering is above the limit. I don't know. I could guess it would be something debatable.
About it. This is a big one right here. This is the Council of Foreign Relations.
I guess it could be safe.
This is
could be smartly done.
Ex-head of the CIA. Well, this is at the council. John Brennan.
He's with the CFR. Oh, that's great.
John Brennan at the Council of Foreign Relations.
His brother or what?
John Brennan right there.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI.
That is
already got a word.
Geoengineering. That's when you look up in the air and you see it playing like tic-tac-toe. And everybody's like, are those just contrails, water vapor from the jets? No.
Maybe.
That's what he's talking about right there. They're aerosol sprays
I don't know if all
that
of
have
them are, but
in it. Yes, they've done testing with this.
Barium,
and
aluminum.
Maybe it could be moved with giant magnets from a surface down below so they can control the weather. That's what he's admitting to. For years, people couldn't talk about it. They were called the conspiracy theorists if they talked about it. Here's Brennan admitting it.
A method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat, in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do.
Why should we do that?
An SAI program could limit global temperature increases,
just do it
reducing
locally.
some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels.
Well, it's true. If ever we could modify the weather, we could pretty much manage to make everywhere livable, or to calculate places where we that's where we grow food, that's where people live, that's where nature lives. We could pretty much control it. I think maybe Earth would fight back and it wouldn't work. Probably wouldn't work long term. I'm going by guess here. I don't know if I'm being wise or not to say something like that. I don't know. I think like humans are so smart. It seems every time we create something to repair a problem, we just create a new one.
This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly.
Yeah, for the whole
only
Earth.
10% what you get for the Ukraine war. We could do geoengineering and geoengineer the planet.
Yes, indeed.
What do you think about this?
Oh, when you started the whole thing and they go, it's inconclusive.
Yeah.
Michio Kuko was saying that was inconclusive. I'm like, I actually want to know, how do they know that it's inconclusive? How do they know that what they have been doing with lasers hasn't actually affected weather patterns or changed weather?
How can they say?
That's just my observation, and I'm no scientist.
No, but
when they talk to a lot of guys, guys over like Dane Winnington at the Geothermal Watch and whatnot, they'll tell you the aerosol sprays that are coming down from, these planes that are putting them out there.
Aluminum and
very
barium.
Unhealthy for the crops down below.
Yeah.
They're very unhealthy for humans to breathe them.
That's why Monsanto made anti-aluminum.
It's not good at all. But now it seems like the cat is out of the bag. Mr. Brennan announcing it at the Council of Foreign Relations. Yeah. And we got more evidence of it going on. And then now they're kind of using it to prepare us. Now that the cat is out of the bag, people who were called crazy are no longer crazy. They're going to try to push it upon us.
I've been called like crazy anti-science for saying that geoengineering was even like a possibility. It was like, they know nothing about it. It's not that complicated. It's probably very complicated to keep it stable and not have the earth fight back, but it's not that hard to do it locally.
Like they're trying to use it to save the planet, preparing the United States for security and governance.
That's the excuse.
Geoengineering.
That's like carbon taxes.
This is in 2021. As the increasingly severe effects of global warming generate greater interest in geoengineering technologies, the United States must prepare itself for the risk and uncertainties that come along with their potential development. So they are digging into the people's, I don't want to say conscious, but their heart, their compassion to say, you want to help the planet over here. We have a problem.
Yeah, but then if you have a global problem, you need global solutions. So that's why you need like a one world government, because who's going to really accept your neighbor doing geoengineering that is like not against you? Who's really like, and should be like a war, like a constant war of it's like, oh, let's say the United States and Canada. So Canada, we want to have water. But our water, let's say it comes from the United States. So if the United States decide to use it all on their land, all on their side, all for their crops, and then Canada is receiving less, then how can we accept that? How can we accept our neighbors like acting upon this way and using geoengineering? It's a full-time economic war at this point. And will it be accepted? I don't know. It's so that's why that's like another good reason to have a one world government, which I totally don't apply to. Well, I kind of do, but not in the way now. Like not at all. I think everybody should have a lot more autonomy than being a one world government. But I agree that a one world coalition that like people they ask at least like around. Oh, you know what? I was thinking about doing that. And just see what people are saying about it. If somebody's like really against it for good reasons, I think like all countries should think think it straight, like think intelligently. I don't know if it's even a word, but yeah. Okay, let's go with the video.
Problem. We've gone too far. We've heated the planet too much. All us, carbon peeps. Our footprints, our digital footprints, we've gone too far.
You are carbon. They want to reduce.
Now we have to use these methods to cool the planet. And that's how they'll get people to buy into this, by saying what they're doing.
Finally, carbon taxes are going to be worth something.
Is they're trying to reverse the man-made issue of us heating the planet too much and saving
by adding another problem.
That's the avenue they're using right now.
On it.
Preparedness for such a world will likely be multifaceted and will likely include improved understanding of how the global climate will change both with or without geoengineering. The ability to detect and monitor geoengineering activity worldwide, an adequate policy roadmap for deterring certain kinds of geoengineering activity, and for responding in the case of geoengineering deployment, by other nations. That's what I was talking about. Other measures.
All right, so I'm immediately concerned when I see an adequate policy roadmap for deterring certain kinds of geoengineering activity. What are those kind of activities?
Yeah, it's if with other countries. Well, here's the thing, Steph. If the United States has a type of, I don't want to say just necessarily warfare, but if they have a certain avenue, and let me use the sense of warfare. If the United States has a big subfleet, then China and Russia have to have a big subfleet to counteract it. If the United States is going along with biochemical weapons, then China and Russia have to do the same thing. If the United States is going to geoengineer and attempt to use it for weather modification, then the Chinese and the Russians have to do it.
They're already doing it.
I think that this is an attempt to bastardize them by saying they're using it in a nefarious way or a negative way, but we're doing it because we want to save the planet. So that's what I think.
It's just for economic reasons.
It even says right here, White House releases report on reflecting sunlight to cool the Earth. No formal study plan now. But once again, they're kind of implementing, we're going to do it to cool the Earth.
That's not a good idea.
We have to cool the Earth. If we don't cool the Earth, we're all not going to be here. And the key points of this is on Friday, the White House released a federally mandated report on solar geoengineering, which is an umbrella term that describes method of reflecting sunlight away from the Earth to cool the atmosphere.
We should be wanting to keep the heat and the sun. Just do something positive with it.
I mean, that says it all right there. The very first energy one. They're telling you what they're going to do. They're telling you why they want to do it.
It's a waste of energy.
They're hiding the fact that it's really the military-industrial complex looking to use it as a weapon to starve out their enemies, to hurt their enemies. If you can control the weather, and I know it's kind of crazy when you think about it. I don't think people can control the weather. Well, they're sure as hell trying.
Of course they can.
And it's not
entirely,
has no plans underway to launch a comprehensive research
it.
program into solar radiation modification. But the report lays out the case for what such a research program would look like and why it could be beneficial.
Obviously.
The primary theme in the report focused on looking at solar geoengineering through a risk versus risk framework, meaning the risk of intervention versus no action whatsoever. And I bet you better believe that they're going to say they have to act.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Inaction is worse than no action whatsoever.
I understand.
And that's what they're going to say. I wish they would use the same theory on mask over here. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
The risk versus risk. Maybe they should do it that, you know what I'm saying? Sure. But, I've been interested in bringing a story like this to the show because this stuff is for real now because they've let the cat out of the bag and they've admitted to it. They're just saying they're using it for good reasons and not negative reasons, but there is documentation for many years. And like I said, that Iranian president, Ahmadinejad, accused the Israelis of using it along with West help to starve out a certain region and bring a drought. And that's why I say it's the
Chinese are using it.
It's grand jewel. It's their shiny jewel. If they can do this, wow. But by doing so, hurting us, killing us, putting stuff in the air, hurting our crops, hurting our food.
Could be.
The whole 9 yards.
It's the same as non-organic foods. You would think I remember when I was at school, they were saying in the future we'll be able to modify vegetables and fruits and make them more healthy, more nutritious, grow with less water. And it was I kind of believed it back then, but it turns out that the only thing that they do modify is that they make them infertile and resistant to specific poisons so that the crops don't die. That's the main focus. I have pretty much, I think there's one type of rice that actually they made it right out of everything that's non-organic that just sucks. It's all of it is just to be patented to make money off poor people, off people growing food, and just creating inflation for stupid reasons. Instead of just, there's so many ways to make money. They had to choose that one.
Anything else?
make us infertile in the process.
Yeah, but
you are what you eat.
Okay, so that's it, guys. I just want to bring that to the show and stuff like that. We have to start paying attention to geoengineering now, ladies and gentlemen. Now we can talk about it.
Look up in the sky.
Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Tampa, Boca Raton, Orlando.
All right, so I don't know if this actually is going to become more mainstream or not. The idea that they're doing it for good, I guess, does have more chances of bringing it mainstream, but I don't know. I agree that like aliens have become like more mainstream. I mean, I hardly believe it in most of it anymore, kind of, but for different ways or different reasons. But I don't know if this will be seen as something other than quack. But who cares? Like 50% of the internet now are conspiracy theorists. So the rest, you just need to get up, with the information. I mean, you're not a conspiracy theorist yet. Like, what are you doing? What's right there in your hand? You have the whole knowledge of the whole internet in your hands, and you still believe we went to the moon. It's like, whatever. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed my reaction today to this video from Jimmy Dore, which Jimmy wasn't even there. It was just his buddy there. But yeah, I'm going to watch some more videos. I don't know if I'm going to do all of them reactions. I might not, probably not. But anyway, so remember that we are versus the rest. See you. Bye.